What is up, everyone? My name is Will Cashin, aka White Trash Willie, and I'm here on the Undialed podcast with a really special guest. So, special guest, introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? My name is Ernie Porter. I've been around a couple times before. You might have seen me with Will. I used to do videos with you pretty frequently.
Yeah, back when you lived here.
Yeah, when I was in Arizona. That's so funny. I tried to get you to move to Arizona for years, and then like a year after you get here, I move.
Yep, and now you're at Woodward.
Yes, Woodward, PA. I'm full time out at Woodward, PA. Currently, running the food and beverage program through the off season, and then doing the Intro to Action Sports program through the summer seasons. So
that's so sick. What has it been like living at Woodward? That's like every child's dream.
Insane. On it, cold, bro. I've never been this cold in my entire life. I've lived in Arizona for 25 years, pretty much. I did like a year in California, a couple months in Texas, stuff like that, bounced around. But I've never been this cold in my entire life. It's cold, but it's a lot of fun. I actually, for the first time in 3 months, have been riding again. I tore my meniscus in August. So just recently, hopping back on the scoot after that. So haven't really been enjoying the perks of it as much as I had previously hoped, but now definitely the knee's feeling a little bit better. Getting into it, I'm stoked to be back at the skate parks, but there are only two that are heated. So through the winter, I'm only limited to Lot 8 and Cloud 9, but I can't complain because both of those are fire. So true.
Yeah, you. I feel like you're always coming off of like an injury or something like that. You fall hard at the skate park.
I would say I heard this term at Woodward like 2 years ago, and I think it like perfectly describes the way I ride is all will, no skill. Like I've never been that good at scootering, but I do have like some tricks, and I'll throw things. But I actually tore my meniscus like on like a 3-foot hill, and I was riding my scooter down with like a water cup in one hand, and I was going to throw it away, and I just like slipped and stepped off my scooter and like totally just knee bent and collapsed, and it was like the stupidest way to ever tear your meniscus in the world.
Gosh.
So, yeah, it was terrible, but we're back. We're here. That's what happens when you're 25 and don't stretch.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're good, and I'm glad that you're having a good time at Woodward because that's so
blessed
important.
To be there. Blessed to be there for sure. So
all right. Well, Ernie, you got some pretty cool things for us to talk about today, and I just want to jump into that right now.
Absolutely.
So, what is the
topic today?
The topic
today is mental health, and especially mental health within action sports, and even deeper within that, mental health within men in action sports, because I feel a lot of the time, a lot of us don't speak about these things. And today, like I will say some things today that I don't think I've ever said in a capacity like this before. I've shared with people in the past, but never I guess on this level. So I might get a little emotional pre-advance. And I hate to be like that dude who's like, oh, trigger warning, whatever. But if you are someone who's been through things in your life, this could be kind of triggering, and it is it will get heavy at points. So yeah. But just hopping into it, my story, my name's Ernie. I am 26 years old. I have been riding scooters since I was 8 years old. I have been involved. I've tried just about every action sport, from rollerblading to skateboarding to BMX to scootering. And scootering was always the one that stuck. So I'm heavily involved in action sports. I love action sports more than anything in the world. Like I said, I'm not the greatest rider. I never have been. I never will be. But I've always loved scootering so much. And I'm also somebody who deals with anxiety, depression, and PTS, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. And those things result from... Crazy to say it out loud. I'm sorry to get a little choked up, but I am a sexual abuse survivor. And it was sort of a one-off incident when I was, I think about 4 years old. Probably, yeah, I would say 4 years old. And that's all I really feel comfortable sharing about it in this sort of setting. But I am somebody who went through something like that, and I didn't talk about it for, I think the first time I said that out loud was 24 years old. First time I ever admitted that in my life was 24. So you can just imagine like the things that go on, like carrying that for 20 years. Because like when you think about like problems that you have, the first thing that everyone says is like, talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So you can imagine like and I know there's people who probably have even gone longer than that without like ever talking about their traumas, ever talking about what they went through. And there's a million people that you would never guess it in a million years. You know what I mean? Just simply because they handle it so well. They handle those emotions so well. I'm sorry, I'm rambling a little bit now because I'm like,
You're good.
My emotions are like ramped up from sharing that. But the reason I want to talk about this is because I don't want anyone who may be in that situation to ever feel like they have to wait 20 years to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Because I'm also someone who has done recently, since I moved, I haven't been seeing a therapist weekly. But before I moved to Pennsylvania, I moved to Pennsylvania last May. Before that, I had been seeing a therapist weekly for about 3 years. So I've been pretty open about that. Like if you followed anything I've done, if you follow me on Instagram, any of my social media, like I've always been pretty vocal about mental health and the advocacy for that. But I just wanted to like take this opportunity to kind of talk about that real journey and like what it really was. Cause like a lot too. Like I did music a lot. And I get a lot of questions now, like why did that stop? And I think the reason like that, and it took me going through therapy to even realize this. Like I always loved doing music, and I felt like I was sort of talented. There's some sort of little thing that clicked around in there.
Yeah, you were able to just think of raps, writing things so quickly.
Yeah. Like, and that's always been like something that I pride myself on, is like spoken word and like being able to like really portray how I'm feeling into words. But like what I like really thought about and like came to realize in therapy is like the whole reason that I even like really did music was to kind of like create this image of like maybe why I felt so angry all the time. And like if you listen to some of my music, like it was kind of angry. You know what I'm talking about? It wasn't super positive. It was kind of just like turn up and like I was talking about a bunch of stuff I wasn't really living too, you know what I'm talking about? Like trying to fit that image of like what I thought a rapper was. And like I felt like I needed like a lot of attention. And so like I was like, well, what's the best way? And I was like trying to capitalize off something that I felt like I had talent with. Yeah. Cause like I love music, but like I don't know. Look at me, bro. I'm not a rapper. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not a rapper. But like that was something that I felt like I had to do to like kind of give a reason to like, oh, you know, I'm a tough guy. Like this is why I'm so angry all the time. And really like I was angry because I like couldn't manage my emotions and I couldn't manage what had happened to me, and I didn't want to admit like what I went through as a kid. And like I'm a very super positive person and I feel like I do a lot of cool things now, but like through my childhood, like that always wasn't the case. So like I was just kind of a dick, to put it into better words. Like I was just kind of mean to people.
Do you feel like you were mean to people because there was things that were bothering you, and you messed with people to cover, like, to heal those wounds?
Absolutely. You know, like the common phrase, like if you don't heal your own wounds, you're gonna bleed on people who didn't cut you. Like, and misery loves company. Like things like that. Those are all very true things. And I think it was kind of like I can even look back and like realize that like maybe it was because I was kind of jealous of people and like saw people comfortable in themselves, like, and that's another thing with like the music shit too, is like it gave me somewhere to be comfortable and I could be whoever I wanted to be. And so that was something with it too. Like I was never really comfortable with myself, so you know, like maybe I projected that onto other people, and was kind of jealous of people who had like found that lane and really like understood who they were a little bit more. And like I see that a lot. Like that's where a lot of hatred comes from, is like self-projection onto people. Like when someone, like, you tell someone a business idea or something, and they're like, well, what about this? Well, you can't do it because of this. It's like, it's that self-projection. They're letting you know what they think they would fail doing in that type of situation. It's really what they're saying. And I think that's a lot of what I was doing. And definitely like was just like not super cool to like a lot of the girls I dated. Looking back, like I can look back and be like, damn, like I could have handled things a lot better in a lot of those situations. And like literally like all of those things, like, I mean, and I would steal a lot to feel like, to like get a rush or like feel like I was alive, because I was just like, just to feel something, you know what I mean? Like be a dick to other people just to feel something, like start a fight just to feel something. I got in fist fights a lot too, like fighting after school for no reason, just like picking fights with people. And like a lot of that all came because you're just not comfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
And like it was hard as a teenager. Like being a teenager was stupid hard, because I never talked about these things, and I didn't like, I was angry all the time, and I needed a reason to be angry, and like you just project that. And if I would have talked about these things earlier on, like it just blows my mind, like how much time I could have wasted, like just being angry and not evolving, and just being a negative person. Like when you put things out like that into the world, that's what you're going to get.
Being a negative person is so draining.
Dude, it's and like it's just a repeating cycle over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it's just like so much wasted energy for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, and that's something that I like hate so much now, and I preach so much, is like putting somebody else down to like bring yourself up, or like that's never a good time. Like I think that's like the wackest shit in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
where you bring somebody down so that way you're equal but equally bad.
And it's like misery loves company.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And like I hate that. I fucking hate it so much, dude. And I'm not perfect by any means now. I'm not talking like, there are some times that I still every day have to like reflect and be like, okay, that's something I could have done better. And I think that's another huge thing that I learned in therapy too, was like humility, and like knowing that like I'm wrong. Like, dude, I'm wrong a lot of the time. Like, and I'm cool to fuck up. Like that's totally fine with me now. Like I used to be so scared of failure. And like, oh no, like I was like such a perfectionist. Everything's got to be perfect. And like I felt like my worth was dependent on that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and like even like when you're that angry and that young of an age, like I felt like the only thing people would like me for was like the things I could do for them. So I had to be a perfectionist. You know what I mean? I didn't find any value in myself. So all that people were going to like me for were the things I did. So everything had to be perfect, and nothing's ever perfect. You know what I mean? Like you're going to make mistakes. Everyone does. It's inevitable. So that's something that I learned in therapy too, is like owning my mistakes and realizing like there's always another chance. You know what I mean? I don't have to be perfect. And that's like where a lot of like being dishonest came from. It's like, if I did fuck up, if I did make a mistake, I didn't want to own that. I'd be like, no, I find any excuse. And it's just so much easier just to own it and be like, yeah, that was my fault. And also like learning,
like it's when you don't own up to something, it's like maybe that little bit of time right then immediately there will be better. Like
that's it.
And then it's like you're that cycle is going to come around again, but this time it's going to be a lot worse, and then you have that same option again, and then it's like it's the same thing as procrastination,
literally. And that's in everyday life too. Like that's applicable to being a good worker too. You know what I mean? Like if I mess up at work, I got to own that. And I had a problem doing that even like when I worked, like when I was a bagger at Fry's when I was 16, 17, or like a busboy at Cafe Zupa's. Shout out Zupa's. But I couldn't admit fault then. And like,
I also feel like it makes you look like a littler person when you can't admit when you're wrong. Like you might get like the emotions inside of you and like the chemicals inside of you that will make you feel like you're bigger, like oh yeah, I'm not going to tell the truth, I'm going to lie, I'm going to look bigger in this situation. But like I feel like to your peers around you, it's like man, you just look little, like you look little because of this. And I think that's such a funny like psychological trip, because like I feel like a lot of the time when people like admit that they're wrong, they feel like little, but like the people around them view them as big. You know what I mean? Like that. And it's like, I wish that you could actually just gauge those general feelings of people and how they feel around you. Like, I wish there wasn't a disconnect about how you feel versus like the emotions of others. Like not you as in you, but just like as in third person. Like I wish that it was like simple like that, because I feel like people would genuinely treat each other better. I feel like it's just the emotions inside of you. And
So in like the same thought of that, another thing that I learned in therapy, I'm gonna say that 10 million times this podcast.
Yeah.
I learned this in therapy, but is realizing like even within that is you're never gonna know, nor are you ever going to dictate how someone reacts to something. So the only thing that you get to control in a situation is what you do and how you react to it. Like, say I have broke some shit out here in your crib before we started doing this, and right now, like I was about to tell you, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm like, hey. But like I don't get to gauge how you're gonna respond. You know what I'm saying? Like all I get to do in that situation is control how I respond and control how I feel about it. So I can own my humility and I can be like, yo, I messed up, and be honest and tell you. And I can hope, you know what I mean? I can hope that you're gonna be like, I get it, dude. Like mistakes happen, but you could act any sort of way about it, and I don't get to control that. So all I get to control is me. So. And that's a beautiful thing at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no expectation then. You know?
Yeah.
Like there's and I learned to have a lot less expectations going into things. And just let things happen. You know, because no amount of worry is gonna change the future. No matter how much you worry about it. It's going to happen. No matter what's going to happen.
Change is the only thing that's inevitable.
You know, exactly.
Yeah.
So, like, and you just get to control how you react to it. Always. The only thing that you ever have control of in life, and, like, that's something that I tried to do, too, when I was younger. I'm going to burp. Hold up. Nope, didn't come. There it goes. But, like, when I was younger, I had to be in control of situations. Like, I felt like I had to. Like, I no matter what, I freak out if I got a B on a test or something. Like I had to be in control of things always. And now like I don't like. I mean, like I do have goals. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not just floating through life, but I don't have expectations at all. I don't have expectations of like what I'm supposed to do tomorrow. I don't have expectations of like how things are supposed to go. All I do is give my 100% every day. And your 100% looks different every single day. And I know like a bunch of people have heard that before too, but like it's very true. Like, and all that matters is that you are giving your 100%.
What I've heard before is because that reminds me of just life is in waves. You know, your 100 is different every single day. It's like certain days it's up here, certain days it's down here. You know, and instead of trying to like control those waves, your job is to surf.
Ride them motherfuckers.
Like your job is to surf as a human.
100%.
And you have to hit those highs and those lows. I feel like in order to feel the contrast of life. So like life is just in order to experience one emotion, you have to contrast that with another. You have to be able to compare that to something.
Yeah, and it's like yin and yang, you know? Like you can't have the good without the bad. And like if it's all one, then what's the difference? And that too, like happiness is never a constant. You know what I'm saying? And happiness is a choice too. I didn't believe that for a very long time, but happiness is a choice.
Oh yeah,
100% it's a choice, dude. You decide what you see.
A lot of people feel like they think it's an expectation.
What do you mean by that?
Like people feel like they deserve to be happy just because they're alive, and I feel like being happy is a choice that takes work and it takes dedication, and happiness is really the result of of hard work and of what's the word? Just contentment.
Yeah. And
You know, and in order to be content, you have to, I feel like, suffer a little bit.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, no, there, and that's where like the term that like or toxic positivity comes in. Like people who are like, oh, you can find the good in everything, and it's like, dude, my homie just died. What are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, remember the good. Like, no, like, and that's another thing too, is owning your sadness. Like I tried to run from it for so long too. Like, oh, I'm not sad. I just got to do this. You know what I'm saying? If I do this, I'll be happy. And having that expectation that like things like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not an end destination. Like if I do A, B, and C, I'm gonna be happy. Like that's, you know what I'm saying? And that's where a lot of people have that thing where they're like, oh, okay, I went and did the college degree, and then I got the job, and then I got the wife, and then I got the house. But like, where's the sense of fulfillment? Like, why aren't I happy? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Because
it's all
it's
about
not
the
a
journey.
destination.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're never. It's not a tangible object. You don't pick happiness up and keep it. Like, and it's not linear. Like you don't get to have that just because you did A, B, and C. You know what I'm saying? It's ever changing, and like, I think that's
You
like,
also have to be able to split pleasure and genuine happiness into two separate categories.
no, hit me with that. What do you mean?
So you have to realize that, like, pleasure is a state, and happiness is a trait.
Okay.
And you can be in states where you're experiencing pleasure. That can be a destination. That can be a place. But being happy is a trait of who you are. It isn't necessarily a state that you're in at that very moment. So I did like a whole talking video about just like how to be happy, and that was one thing that I feel like I really discovered about that is you're gonna have states in your life or time periods where you're gonna be at lows, you're gonna be at highs, and you have to be able to identify what that baseline is in the middle, which is your trait of who you are as a person through all of the different states that you're in. And I feel like you can just kind of seek out pleasure thing after pleasure thing after pleasure thing. Like, for example, I find like Uber Eats for me is a pleasurous act, but I don't feel as happy about myself as if I do when I cook a big meal and get to experience the hard work.
When you put it like that, it like tied it all back. I'm like, okay, I'm fucking with it. Okay, I get you. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that was like a prime ass example. No, I get that. Totally get what you mean. So,
and I feel like it's really important to separate pleasure versus happiness, because people will just go and they'll just seek these pleasure trips and expect to be happy, but I feel like being happy is so much deeper than that, and it's so much about fulfilling the goals in your mind that means something to you.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's accomplishing goals and desires over the course of years instead of just finding your happiness in life through consuming. You know, and I feel like there's a certain level of happiness
Like
that
your real sense of fulfillment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like the journey of that full fulfillment, or at least like even if it's just like a general thing of just helping people, you know, it's like how much are you doing that? And it's like that will make you feel happy, genuinely.
Yeah, depending on who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
If that's your thing.
Well, exactly. And so like, and it's even crazy like you're talking about that, because like 3 years ago, what I said, or we'll dive back a little bit deeper. Three years ago, I'm still pretty close, but we'll say 20 years old. Mm-hmm. If you before I went through therapy, anything of that, if you asked me what made me happy, compared to what makes me happy today, it'd be two completely different answers. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it goes with like this sense of like there's this theory that a psychologist, Freud's sense of I can't remember the whole fucking thing. God forgive me. But like it's this pyramid, and it says like the bottom layer is like home, shelter, food, like your basic needs for survival. And then like the top of the pyramid is like sense of fulfillment and like what brings you real joy in life. And you have to get like through those little sense of layers to get to where you need to be. And like that is so true when you look at the story of like when people get that, like a homeless person, if you ask them what they need in life, it's going to be a crazy different answer than if you ask me or you what you need in life. You know what I mean? Like you got to meet those certain levels of fulfillment to reach that ultimate level of fulfillment. And like when I wasn't feeling good about myself, and hadn't like processed the things that I had gone through and hadn't talked about them and hadn't gone through therapy and hadn't been real with myself, my answers were completely different because like it's so crazy. Like I would have said money, you know what I'm saying? I would have said money. That probably would have been it. That's all. Like I had this
because why not?
It was the only thing that made
Yeah.
me feel like I could be like, well, check. Well, I'm 20 years old. I made this much money this year. You know what I'm saying? I think I was making fucking $30,000. Like thought I was balling. You know what I'm saying? Had less than $1,000 in my bank account and thought I was the coolest cat. But you know, like it's just crazy different. And now that I've been through it, like I didn't want to help nobody because I couldn't even help myself. And like fast forward 3 years later, I'm in school to like get my behavioral health degree to like be a therapist. And like that's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. That's the whole point of this that I'm doing right now that I'm talking about is I just want to be able to help those people that were in the same situation that I was in. And especially like in action sports, that's why I have like there's such a stigma. Excuse me. There's such a stigma behind men not talking up.
Yeah. Tell me about that stigma because I feel like I'm in the action sports world. I experienced that. You know, I know what the culture is like. Not saying the best culture on earth, but like I know what the culture is like, and I feel like there is a stigma against talking about it.
So like let's be real for like 10 seconds. A lot of people in action sports abuse alcohol and abuse drugs.
Absolutely.
And a lot of those people, this is just theory because a lot of people don't talk, but I would damn near bet that a lot of those people do that because of the same things that I went through. And they don't talk about it. And I feel like a lot of us from the jump are kind of outcast from the start. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not conventional sports. We're not playing football. We're not playing baseball. We're not the baseball kids in high school. Like think about all the kids from your high school that skated or scootered or rode BMX. Like we're not the BMX kids, or I mean we're not the baseball kids. Like we're different. We're a little outcasted to start with. And I think like there's a large percentage of us that do action sports that when we first originally started it was to get a sense of community and like get a sense of like people that cared for us and like were like us and related to us because we didn't relate to a whole lot of other people. And like God forbid that there's kids out there that are going through things that like this that I went through or even just different that are just dealing with depression, that are dealing with anxiety, that are dealing with traumas that, you know what I mean? Like you don't know, you never know what's going on behind closed doors at people's houses. And like a lot of people I think are just like, there's like, it was so hard to talk about it. Like I felt like I was going to be less of a man for so long. Like I felt, and like that it's just not true, you know? And like you tell yourself a lot of these things and you lie to yourself and you say these things and it's like, fuck man. Like I just don't want to talk about it. Like it's so hard. And like even now, like it's hard for me to talk about it now. Like I don't talk about it a lot now. But like I could just only imagine if I would have went to therapy at 14 and like had that real conversation at 14, like how much time I would have saved myself. How many nights I would have saved myself doing stupid shit I shouldn't have been doing. How many other people's feelings that I may have saved from me just being a nicer person and being more understanding. And like I feel like I can relate to a lot of people on a lot of things because I've been through a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it took a really long time to get to a point where I was comfortable enough with myself to like let people know I relate to them. You know what I'm saying? Like I would hear it before and be like, boop, nope, tune out, because I didn't want to admit to myself like I had gone through the same things. And I just hope that like if there's any skateboard kid, if there's any kid that does BMX, not even limited to action sports, but like that's the audience that I'm talking to right now. If there's any kid out there who's going through anything that you don't talk about, like go see a therapist. Like it's and I thought for so long that like talking to a therapist meant that you were like so messed up that you needed some outside help, like you needed a doctor's help to fix your brain. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh shit. That's what I thought it was. Like you needed some help. Like, but it's not it. Being in therapy just means that you are allowing yourself to be in a space where you feel validated and have those thoughts that you've never said out loud be validated by somebody. And like, don't you deserve that? Doesn't every person in the entire world deserve validation in how they feel? Like,
I feel like you would cause people to act less erratic.
100%. Like,
even on like a minor scale.
No, dude, and like even in my day-to-days, like the little things, like I feel a lot more understanding. Like when I'd manage like the restaurants that I did before. And people like you'd see a lot of things in yourself, and like I didn't trust myself. I would lie to people a lot. You know what I'm saying? So someone would be like, yo, I'm not feeling well. Like, oh, I got this going on. I can't come in, blah, 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 blah. I'd be like, they're fucking lying. Like straight off bat, I'd be like, they're lying. And you would go for like the worst thing straight out of bat because like you're projecting. Like I was saying before, you project a lot. And now that I've gone through it and I understand that like, yo, everyone's doing their best, like you're more understanding about things. You're more trusting. And like, you know, fool me once, shame on blah, 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 whatever, you know. But I think everyone deserves a second chance. Always. And if you were always like judged off of your first impression or like the first time coming around, like there's not a lot of things that I'd be doing today in life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm very blessed to have second chances. But I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought there.
You're good, bro. So how did action sports help you through?
Well, first and foremost, like physical activity just helps.
Yeah.
Physical activity is like clinically proven to help with depression, with mood. And like, just like I was talking about before, it was the first time that I felt like a sense of community. You know what I mean? Like, huge shout out to like Sean Cardwell, Brett Lentine. Like they were like my older brothers growing up. And obviously Big White too. But outside of like family, you know what I mean? Like the first, like Sean and Brett like accepted me and Big White in, and those were like our boys. Like they taught me all about scootering. It was the first time that I felt like I really had common interests with people. So like that was mind blowing. It was like, oh, okay, these people get it. You know what I'm saying? Like they understand scootering. They get like,
here's the thing we're all gonna do together.
Yeah, you know, and like I can remember waking up and taking the bus to Tempe skate park at like 6 a.m. on Saturday, and then riding like 10 miles to Pecos skate park on our scooters and staying out
to
for like
Pecos?
Yeah, we used to do that, bro. No lie. We used to ride from Tempe to Pecos on our scooters.
That's ridiculous.
And then take the bus back. And like, dude, like, you know, I wasn't getting that with no one that I went to school with.
Yeah.
I did like, and I mean, I was like on the wrestling team. I did organized sports, things like that, but I never had that like real sense of like brotherhood and community.
I feel like for me, like all my skate park friends were like the homies that I would ride with me, and all the school friends were just the school friends.
Yeah.
It was like the people at the skate park were like these are people I'd even consider inviting over to my house. But at school, it's like, I don't know if I like these people.
And I mean, it even started bleeding over a little bit. Like I'd hang out with a lot of the kids from the skate park at school then.
Yeah.
Like not vice versa. You know, I wasn't like we met at school and then we hung out at the skate park. Like I met them at the skate park and then we were hanging out at school. So like even Tristan Anderman, like that was like my little homie, you know what I mean? I think I was like a junior when he was a freshman and shit. But like, you know, like those were always my closest homies, dude. Were the people that I related with from the skate park. And another thing too, like the way action sports helps is like when I didn't have confidence, like I was like, you know me now, like I'm almost arrogant sometimes with how confident I am.
Yeah.
I believe I'm the best. I know I'm the best because you have to. Like, you have to. I think I'm the best at everything I do because I love it. I love myself, and I'm so proud to say that I love myself now, and I like what I do. So you got to be confident in yourself. And action sports helped a lot with that, like knowing that there's not a lot of other places that kids get failure, and they just keep getting up and trying.
Physically hurts.
And you are physically pained. You know, like you
Yeah.
are physically going through it. And every time you're getting up, someone's like, "Hey, bro, you got it next time." Or, "Oh man, I'm hitting this mic every time."
You're good.
I know Clayton looking at me in the corner like this dumbass. But so, like, you know, you don't get that. Like, you don't get that with a math problem in school. You know what I'm saying? I walk up to the whiteboard and it's 7 times 7. I'm in what? I don't know when you learn multiplication. 3rd grade. And I'm doing 7 times 7. I put 35. Like, no one's like, "Oh no, next one, you got it." You know what I'm saying? Like, you got it.
Well, it's like one step beyond that. It's like, imagine if you got to choose your own math problems in school. It's like, no, people get to like, you get to choose what you get to try, and then people will encourage you in your own pursuit of whatever that is.
And like, it's just such a fulfilling journey. Like, I mean, and I even watched some skateboard video a couple of weeks ago of some mom like coming up and she's like, "Yo, it's so cool. Like, you're so close. I know you got this." Like,
Yeah, I seen
you
that.
know what I know you know exactly what video I'm talking about. And like, bro, you don't get that anywhere else. And like, I learned to like trust myself a little bit more, and I like learned to believe. And I've never been that good either. Like, it took me a really long time to tail whip. It took me a really long time to learn a bright flip. I'm still not the best at scootering. You know what I'm saying? But like, I always have another try, and that's something that I knew from scootering, but like couldn't really apply to my life until I went to therapy. Is like, no matter what, you always have another try. No matter what, dude. Like, tomorrow's a new day, always. You're gonna get another shot at it, no matter how bad you messed up. Like, there's always a chance to do better. And like, that's such a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was just telling my homegirl that last night. She was texting me about like going through some stuff. And that's like right there too. Like, that's such another beautiful thing about going through therapy and being vocal about it and being honest about it, is like, that's the homegirl. I know she's going through like this. I think she's 9 months sober now. Shout out to her. And she'll hit me up and talk to me about like, "Oh, you know, like, it's just, today's harder than most days." You know what I mean? And it feels good to know that people can talk to me about those things.
Yeah.
And like, they feel confident in talking to me about that. And like, they trust my perspective on it. Like, that feels sick. Like, that feels great to be comfortable enough with myself that it shows to other people that they trust me for advice on like very important things like that. And I'm always down to chat it out with anybody about anything like that. Cause like, you never know what people are going through, you know what I mean? And I thank the Lord too that I never really got into like crazy substance abuse from it. You know what I mean? Like, I know so many people that have and talk about like wasting years of their lives doing drugs, and like, that was never really the case with me.
Do you think that's a big reason why people even start drugs in the first place?
A million percent.
Yeah.
It's to fill a void. You know, I think that's bigger than anything, is like filling that void. Or not even filling a void, like just trying to feel something. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't think think about like how broken you got to be to do some crazy shit. Like, no one wakes up in the morning and is like, "I'll smoke heroin today." Like, you know, that's not a
Yeah,
normal
you have to
person
be a
thought.
pretty
Like,
broken person.
you gotta be really feeling something. So like, that's why I feel for people like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta be in a dark spot to even like that's not a happy thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. And maybe some people are, you know, I'm not everybody. Maybe some people are like that. But like, that's not, you know, like, it's got to be bad. It's got to be bad for people to get to that point in their lives, or it's just like learned behavior. They like, so yeah, like, and I don't like, I'm different from a lot of people too, in the sense of like, I don't ever want to rely on like antidepressants to live my life.
Yeah.
And like, some people need that. Don't ever think I'm kicking antidepressants or saying like my way's better because I went through therapy and didn't do that, because that's just blatantly not true. Like, some people chemically need that. But I think like a lot of these things can be learned like through self-discipline and like being real with yourself and talking things out and learning strategies behind it. And like I know life can get hard, and like I'm the first to believe that. But I don't think like if you're not like really like talking about things and getting out and moving and getting sleep and like eating semi-healthy, and like being vocal about how you feel and like asking for help when you need it, like you're not giving yourself a fighting chance. Like you got it, you like, and it's hard. That's another thing too, is like I think like you had mentioned something earlier about like entitlement or something. Like people feel like just because they're born they deserve to be happy. Like you gotta work for it. Like it's and like it's hard too. Like it's hard to be happy some days. And you just gotta be cool with being sad. I think a lot of people aren't okay with sitting with the feeling of being sad because it's hard. It really is. It sucks to be sad.
I feel like it's almost like a cultural thing to just not be sad, especially in the States, because I know in other cultures around the world, sad, like in the Japanese culture, sadness is way more of like an accepted thing. And I feel like in America, it's really hard. This sounds kind of messed up, but it's like it's really hard to market sadness. Like it's hard to sell it in a capitalist society, and I feel like it's seen as like something is wrong with you. Like you need like happy, like it's hard for people to understand that you need to have contrast in your life, and for every bit of happiness you feel, you need to like not feel the equivalence of sadness, but you need to feel the opposite of it. And I feel like that's a hard thing to market, and it's an easy thing to market like antidepressants, because I feel like that's just an easy route.
And and I think we've gotten better about it culturally too. But I'm sure you remember, and I'm sure Clayton too, like being in Texas, not to hate or nothing, but like you probably got a lot of like buck up, you know what I'm talking about? Like what are you crying for? Like girls cry, you know what I'm saying? Like buck up, dude. Like and you didn't get to own those feelings and talk about why you were sad as a kid and shit like that. And I think like I've noticed like even I've gotten better like when I interact with kids on a tip like that. Like we talk about it, like, oh, you got some big emotions right now. Like let's talk about why you're feeling that way, things like that. And teach, because like, you know, like you would just get like, I felt like I got told a lot to buck up, or like you're a boy, like come on, what are you crying for? Girls cry. And that makes it really hard for dudes to feel like their emotions are valid or like they should be feeling that way. And then you can't relate to like nobody. And like I see a lot of that, I think, in guys like our age too, like that can't open up to like their girlfriends and stuff. You know what I'm talking about? That have a really hard time like having some sort of like real emotional connection with a girl. Is because like their entire life they got told to buck up and like emotions were for girls and shit like that. And so like it's hard for them to express their emotions in a healthy way because like they never learned how to. And like I kind of feel like that too. Like it took me a really long time to learn how to like express my emotions in like a positive and healthy way. I think a lot of boys struggle with that. You know, like
it's just kind of like, it's not a guy thing to talk about emotions. Like you from the person that's talking about their emotions, they might feel like they're weaker or like that's just a bad thing. And I feel like for a lot of the other guys that might be the listeners to it, it's like they don't even know how to react.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people have a problem sharing too, is because like they don't know how to share about their emotions. So by the time that they're ready to share, it's like such an overshare with somebody that they're not, like someone's not ready to hear that. And you gotta talk about that too. It's like, hey, is this like, could I dump some heavy shit on you right now? When you do need to talk about things. And I think that like a lot of dudes too have that problem because they don't want to talk about their emotions for so long that by the time they have to, it's so boiled over that it's like they can't communicate it in a healthy way because they're just so intense in whatever feeling they have. And the most common way for like real sadness to come out in guys is aggression, because that's what they know, you know what I'm saying?
And that's what's easy.
It's easy to get angry. But like when you break down that feeling and you understand like why you're sad. You know what I'm saying? Because like a lot of the time before, I would just be like, no, you're not sad. Like go do something to make yourself happy, blah, 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 stimulate yourself, like blah, whatever, and not think about it. And now I can have like the conversation about myself. Like, why does this bum me out? A, B, and C. Why does A, B, and C bum you out? And I can actually like break that down with myself and be like, yeah, A, B, and C bums me out because I feel like say someone else got a promotion. This is just all fictional shit. But like say someone like got a promotion at your job instead of you, and you're like, why does that bum me out? And you're like A, B, and C. And you're like A because I feel like I do a good job. B, blah, 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 you know, and they're like, why? Well, why does A make me sad then? You're like, because I feel like they don't notice how good of a job I'm doing. And like when you got to communicate those things, a lot of the time I've learned in stuff is to not address things with a you statement. You know what I'm saying? Like if me and you were talking, we were having a disagreement, it's better for me to say like, I don't feel like you understand what I'm saying, rather than like, you don't fucking get what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like there's such a difference in there in the way I said that comparatively, and I give you then a chance to respond. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not attacking you at that point. When I'm like, yo, I don't feel like you understand what I'm saying, blah, 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 you can be like, no, I understand this, I just disagree. And like that's another thing too, is you got to be cool with disagreeing with people. You got to be cool with like people are going to have different opinions than you all the time. And I would take things super personally before I had like worked through stuff. Like if I was like, oh man, they just don't get it. You know what I'm saying? And like I felt like people not being insecure, like not being secure with myself. It was like an attack. Like if you disagreed with me, like you were saying I was stupid or something. You know what I'm saying?
Because like, once again, that's like an easy thing. Like I feel like that's just like an easy response. It's like I feel like that's a response that, because I've done that before. You know what I mean? Where you just take things as personal. Yeah. And I feel like that's just the easy response that takes the least amount of thought to like process what something happened.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And that's like a very shallow response to it. Like, and it's like. But it was impossible for me to decipher that within myself because like I wasn't cool with these things going on with me. I didn't like myself. You know what I'm talking about? And like that's when like I've probably said it twice already, but like I just think about like what would be different if I would have gone to therapy 10 years before. Like what if I would have been real about this 10 years ago and talked about it and dealt with it and went on with it? Like maybe I would have went to college straight out the bat. Like maybe I would have been comfortable enough with myself and responsible enough to feel like I could have gone to school and made it. And like I graduated at the end of my junior year. I didn't take a senior year. I graduated early from high school, and I just like dicked around. You know what I'm talking about? Because like I didn't know what I wanted to do because I didn't like believe in myself. I was like, nah, if I go to school, I'm gonna fail out of that shit. Like I barely graduated high school. Like that's what I was telling myself because I had no confidence. And like 26 now, like have a year and a half of school under my belt, and I'm like, damn, dude, like if I would have just went to school, I could be a therapist by now. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I could have already been doing that.
I feel like you might have had to gone to that place to get to this one though.
Agreed. And that's another thing, and that's why I'm okay with it because like I wouldn't change anything. Like, and I know a lot of people hear that and they're like, bullshit, you know, because I used to think that too. Like people are like, oh, but I'm blessed to live the life I live. Like I wouldn't change a thing about it. Like, really? But like this is the like you got like
I'm too scared of the butterfly effect.
That too, like that'd be crazy.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's so many things in my life that
you never know
that are the way they are because of reasons I don't understand.
Exactly, dude. And like that's another thing too is like I used to not believe like that anything had like a real reason or anything, you know what I mean? I thought life was pointless, blah, 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 blah. But like, that's like, you realize like, okay, like there's cause to reason here. Like I'm here for a reason. Like things like it's more than just like fucking skin deep all the time. You know what I'm saying? And I travel with my thought there too. I forgot what I was even fucking thinking about. I keep fucking looking back and all your fucking crazy scooter parts in here, dude. You got a time machine in this bitch, but
for me, what was hard is I felt like when I grew up like religious as a kid, I feel like that almost like growing up Mormon, like, and if anyone is in the Mormon church and they like it, like, hats off to you. But
Shout out, but I did not.
I did not like it, and the reason I didn't like it is because I felt like it made me take away like I felt like I was living my life for somebody else, like I was living my life for this thing that was just up in the sky, this guy, and that was judging me about everything, and that like took a big hit to like my conscience because it was so hard for me. I always felt like I was doing something wrong. I always felt like I was being watched, being like judged, and like, what if I was the one that messed it up for my family going to heaven? You know what I mean? Like what? Like, and I would overanalyze all these things.
Nah,
but
I totally get it.
But it's like but in reality, life is just what you want to make it and what you want to do. I don't know the full complexity of life, but I know that whatever's up there is stoked, and I feel like that was just like a big weight off my shoulders for me.
That's another thing too, that like going through therapy and like feeling happier with myself is like I can give back more. And I know that sounds corny as hell. Like I know that sounds so fucking corny. But like I'm my happiest when I feel like I'm contributing. And when I'm I guess not feel like when I actually am contributing. When I am doing something to help someone further themselves. And being that person that I feel like I needed growing up. And if I could if I could go back and just like tell that stupid little motherfucker to get some help, you know what I'm saying? Like talk about what you're feeling, bro. You have feelings. You're a real human being. Like you talk about what you're feeling. Like you're worth talking about this. Like your feelings matter. You're worth going and getting the help that you need.
It's like those thoughts aren't going anywhere.
Ever.
You know they
dude,
can
you
temper.
can shove that down so far and you can push it so far. I mean, like that, like I went through, and there was a lot of other things that happened in my childhood too. Like the first time that I buried a friend, I was 12 years old and I buried my friend Kirk from a drug overdose at 12 years old. And like there's still speculation. I won't go into the full story. But he like used Freon. And I'm not going to talk about that either because I don't want to fucking give anyone any ideas. But Kirk ended up using an inhalant and like putting a trash bag over his head and ended up dying. And like that was super traumatic. And a couple weeks after that, my friend Logan died in a dirt bike accident, forgive me, at the track. And when I was 14, my uncle killed himself. So like I've been through a lot of other things just besides that, and like the things that I prompted as a kid, I never wanted to talk about my feelings when those things happened. Like when those things happened, I was like, nope, I'm good. Like I'm good. I just didn't want to talk about it. And like you can bottle that shit up and you can act like it's not there for so long, and then all of those things came out 20 years later. Like I spent 20 years trying to like not
just
recognize
swimming in your
thoughts. Like not trying to recognize those things. And like it's like people talk about like grief being like a backpack, and you got this huge backpack on, and like the more like you walk around with this huge backpack, think about walking around with all that shit you shoved into a backpack for 20 years. Like think about how that's gonna weigh you down. You know what I'm saying? And like as you go, and as I went through therapy, like anyone in Arizona, if you need a therapist, shout out Alyssa Probert, changed my life. I think she is now with something called Point North or North Point. Either one. I'm sure if you search North Point or Point North on Google, you'll find her. Her name's Alyssa Probert. Changed my life. I had been to a bunch of therapists before I found somebody I was comfortable with, who I felt like I could share with. I went to a therapist when I was like 17 probably, and went to like 4 sessions and was like, yep, I'm good. Like I'm healed. Like no worries, because I didn't want to talk to the dude. And it took me a long time when I went through like this last time. I think she was like the 4th person that I saw, and like went through my initial, like you have to go through like this screening process and all of this to like get the help you need, and like for them to like understand like where your mental gauge is at and like all of that. But Like, and it was tough. Like, I'm not gonna look, and I'm not gonna lie to anybody and tell you like it's so easy to go see a therapist. Like, it's hard work. Like, you're doing work every week. Like, you're unpacking years and years and years and years of grief and shit you didn't want to talk to people about and shit you didn't want to admit. Like, it was hard, bro. There were weeks that I would like not go and call me, I'm sick, I can't come in. You know what I'm saying? Like, calling out of school. And I remember one time, like, I didn't go, I think I canceled and then like didn't call back and like set an appointment up for like a month. And she called my mom. I'm like 25 years old, and she like left a message for my mom. And I was like, hey, like I can't get a hold of Ernie. I scheduled an appointment for him this day. Like, tell him to come in. Like, shout out to that woman. It took me a really long time to find somebody I was comfortable talking to. I think she's great. If you're in Arizona in the Valley, look her up if you need help. It's just life-changing. But like, it was hard. It was hard to find somebody that I was willing to talk to, that I felt comfortable with. And like, I don't know. I think that's my whole point here. Is it's hard to get started. Like, it's not easy to get started. So I fucking commend anybody.
It's like anything else in life, honestly. Though it's like you want a good result of it, you're gonna have to like,
you got to try.
You got to put in that effort.
Exactly. And like that's a model that I like have followed in life too. Is like, if I can do that, if I can unpack this, I can do anything else. Like, I am, and like, it took me a really long time too. And like, there were weeks where I like went in, and it took me a really long time to even get comfortable enough to tell her what I went through. You know what I mean? And like, there were weeks that I would go in there and just cry. Like, just cry, dude, the entire session. Like, there were hour-long sessions. I'd spend 45 minutes crying, maybe talk words for 15 minutes. And like, you just unpack those years of like not crying, and not feeling those emotions. And I just like, I really hope anyone that needs that gets that and talks to their parents, whether you're 13 to fucking 45. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, any age you are at, you deserve validation. You deserve to have your thoughts out. You're like, that's another thing too, is like, she was like, how many of these things have you only thought for the last 20 years? You know what I'm saying? Like, is that the first time you've ever said that out loud? And like, you realize like, when you say things out loud for the first time, like, they kind of sound crazy. And then you're like, well, like, I remember one time, because she was like, well, why do you think that? And I said something. She's like, well, who told you that? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never said it out loud. And she's like, okay, so you're the only one telling yourself that.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, like, you don't get that perspective. You know what I'm saying? Because that's your thought on it. Like, if you haven't talked to anybody about it and you make your mind up, the only person that's telling you that is you. Like, you know what I'm saying? She's like, well, why don't you do that? And I'm like, because I wouldn't be good at it. And she's like, who told you that? I'm like, huh, you're right. Like, wow, that's really just things that I think myself, that I'm projecting out. Like,
what I think about, what helps me think about this is, I think about what a thought is, and a thought is like basically a path of electricity that goes through certain neurons, and that's what an entirety of a thought. And the way that your brain chemistry works is you have lots of little thoughts, but you have these reoccurring big thoughts that basically are cycles in your life. And the more that you think something, the bigger that route gets, the more strong that route gets. So when you consistently convince yourself of something time and time and time and time and time again, it just becomes like that it becomes so strong in your mind. That route becomes so strong.
So you saying that is really, really, so I'm taking a psychology class this semester.
Yeah.
And you have things, neural pathways. And it's basically the route that a thought goes through your neurons and the route it takes to your brain. And as you think things and they become like, you have a reoccurring thought, it's like, think about it like a path, like literally like a hiking path,
like a train track.
No, like think about it like a path on a mountain.
Yeah.
So if me and you, like, the first time we take that path is gonna be a little rocky, right?
Yeah.
Say we walked that path 150 times, we're gonna know where we stepped every time. You know what I'm saying? You carve
it's a pattern.
Out. It's
a reoccurring pattern.
And that is what goes on with your neural pathways. So the more you have a thought and the more you think a thought, when that situation comes up, like say you think about something in a negative way. at anything in the world. When that situation arises, you've already thought about that so many times that that's immediately what you think is negative. So if you're
it's
a
like
negative
analyze
thinker,
pattern, result.
Exactly, literally, dude. Our minds are fucking insane, dude. They're the craziest things in the entire world. But that's true. Like, you literally, like, the more you think about something and the more often you think that way, the more likely you're gonna be, because it just shoots it off that way.
But what's interesting is sometimes the pattern the pattern of that route is toxic.
No, 1,000,000%.
And then it takes you talking through your process for somebody to like turn that whole process around and be like, look at this.
Yeah, like,
and you're like, whoa, like I didn't realize it went through those. Like,
yeah, like, and for lack of a better thing, like, they tell you in a very nice way, like, yo, dumbass. Like,
yeah.
Like, look at, like, and there was a lot of times, where, and this shit made me laugh so hard. I use the word should a lot. Like, I should do this. And she would tell me, you're shoulding on yourself. And I was like, what the fuck? And she's like, when you use the word should, it's an expectation that you're making for yourself. Like, you're telling yourself you should do something that you don't want to do. And it's like, I would talk about, like, well, I should do this. And she's like, why? Why should you? And I'm like, well, because this is like the way it's supposed to be. Who says? You. Like, you set that expectation. So if you don't want to do it, don't fucking do it. Like, and another thing too was like, what was I just gonna say? Man, I lost it. But I do that a lot. See, and that's another thing too, from like an effect of like PTS and like traumatic is like I you know me, like, I go 1,000,000 miles a second. Like, I'll fire ideas at you crazy. Like, my mind is all over the place. I got the fucking attention span of a 4-year-old. Like, I can't be satisfied twiddling my thumbs. I need to chew on batteries, like shit like that. Like, that's like, I have an it's almost like I got ADHD, and that's like a result of PTS. It's like I'm constantly just going. Because
is that because like the reason you feel like you're always jumping and the result of what is it, PTS?
So
is that
PTSD and PTS are the same thing. They just commonly like call PTSD PTS now instead of a disorder. It's just post-traumatic stress.
So would it be like, I'm just curious, like, would it be like really dark thought comes in your mind, so you're like immediately like, I got to switch this up?
Yes.
And then it's like, and then you're doing your thing. Dark thought, switch this up.
Yes.
And then it slowly becomes this like, all right, like now I'm always cycling thoughts because it's in, yeah.
Yes. And like, just like how before I told you, like, I was a perfectionist for a very long time and everything had to be perfect. Like, I'd have all these crazy ideas that I thought I'd be good at, and I'd jump 1,000,000 miles an hour and go all these crazy ways because like I needed to be worthy. Like, I needed to be cool all the time. I needed this sense of accomplishment, and like I'd pick things up and try it out for 2 seconds and put it down, pick something else out, try it up, put it down. Like, I just like, and I needed to be stimulated all the time because it was like, you couldn't be alone with your thoughts, exactly like you were talking about. Like, I didn't like I needed to be with somebody all the time. I felt like I needed to be talking all the time. I hung out with like a lot of people that I shouldn't have been hanging out with because it was someone to be around. I ditched class a lot because I wanted to be cool. Like, I just did like a lot of stupid shit to like fill this void that like all I needed to do was admit like some bad shit had happened and like I didn't like how it made me feel.
Yeah.
You know, like that's, and like what it came down to too is like I really, for a really, really long time, like I didn't want to admit that it happened to me. Like I didn't want to like be, for a really long time I didn't want a victim mindset. And it was like,
which I think could be a potentially toxic thing, but I feel like you can't get that twisted for the actual feelings you're feeling.
Well, so it's like you're not responsible for your traumas, but you know, like I'm not responsible for what happened to me, but I'm responsible for how I react to it.
Exactly.
And like that's how I get to decide. And like I could like, you know, for the rest of my life, like I could see the bad in people and I could be like, I don't trust anybody. But like I had to take accountability and realize that like, you know, like I need to go fix this. If I want to have a healthy relationship with a woman ever, like I didn't trust my girlfriends ever. Just like I didn't trust women, you know what I'm saying? Like didn't trust anybody ever. My abuser was a woman. I didn't trust women ever. So like I needed to work that out because I projected that. Like I would always be like, oh, like if she didn't text me back in 15 minutes, she's got to be cheating on me or some crazy shit like that because I just didn't trust people. I didn't
trust yourself.
I didn't trust myself.
Is that because you feel like your thoughts were cycling so much that you just started to not trust yourself because you would put yourself through harsh things? And do you think that's what like was the start of it?
I think really like I think like I didn't trust myself because I think I knew like what I really needed to do. You know what I'm talking about? Like I knew that I needed to get help and I knew I needed to talk about these things, but I wasn't I knew I wasn't making the right decision in like the things I was doing. So it was like I can't do anything right, obviously. Like on a like a very, and like I didn't care about myself too. Like I didn't love myself. I didn't feel like I brought a lot to the table. So like I just didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Like there was nothing there. It didn't feel like there was a whole lot to lose because I didn't like myself.
Yeah.
And like it's such a beautiful thing to like have that like sense of confidence in yourself and know that like you bring a lot to the table and like people don't realize like really how powerful they are. And like and I don't mean that in a sense of like I have power in the fucking United States or something, but like I have power to dictate how I feel. I have power to influence your day. I have power to influence my parents' day. I have power to influence a stranger's day on the street. Like you have so much power to bring positivity to the world. You have so much power to leave the world a better place or instill those things to help other people to leave the world a better place. And like 9 out of 10 of those things is just like leading by example. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I think that's a very big thing is to like practice what you preach. And so like I think you could probably even attest to this, like how much like just more polite and like nicer I am to be around. Like remember how much of a dick I was when we first met? Like I was not that cool. You know what I'm saying? Like
it wasn't even that. It's just you had to be the biggest in the room.
I was so loud. And I mean, I'm even loud now, but like
it was like, but
I was a one-upper. I was a very big one-upper.
I feel like it was like whatever level you were on, everyone had to be at like no higher than that level.
I think that's a really good way to describe it.
Whatever you were, because there was times where you were feeling like real good, and everyone else was allowed to feel real good.
That's facts. I think that's a really good way to put it. You know, and I just like wasn't like, and don't get me wrong, like there was a lot of the time like when I was on, you know what I'm saying? And I was fun to be around, but like I was a dick, dude. Like, and so I just like I've realized more to just like take myself out of those situations when I'm feeling like that, because like I would be like how I say misery loves company. I've said that 15 times tonight, but like if I wasn't feeling good, I was like, fuck that guy for feeling good, man. Like fucking asshole, you know what I'm talking about?
I feel like not taking care of yourself is potentially selfish, because I feel like when you are,
I was just indulging all the time. Yeah,
when you aren't allowing people around you to feel themselves because of yourself, like that's a selfish act.
100%, and it's like it's super insecure.
I actually had a question for you.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we've been talking about therapy, and I feel like the act of actually walking inside of a building for therapy is like a big act, right? And I feel like there's a lot of smaller actions that happen before that. And I was curious, like for the viewers out there, like what are some individual steps that you could do by yourself initially to like even identify if you have PTSD or if you have, because I feel like for you, your journey, it must have had it wasn't like all of a sudden, all right, I'm just going to therapy. It was like there had to be a couple steps that you went through that led you to be like, eventually, like, I need to go to therapy. What were those little steps?
So, I can remember being at Woodward, and I think this was
2019.
What year is it now? 2021?
Yeah.
2018.
2018.
This was
Your first year at East?
2017. Fuck, don't ask me years. It was my second summer at East, because I had just broken up with Dixie. And I remember
Yeah, that was 2018.
That was 28. Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Coachella 2018.
Shout out, dude. I didn't even get to see Eminem. I didn't. Yeah, whatever. Well, that's a story for another podcast. Dude, I swear she's gonna see these one time because we shouted out in the other one too. She's gonna hit me up like, yo, you owe me some change for saying my name so much. Hit me with that Mariah Carey song.
And you'll just be like,
me?
and you'll hit her back with the, you should go to therapy.
I'll hit her with a Venmo for $20. No, I think she does go to therapy. Shout out to her, actually. I hope she's doing well. She's a cool girl. Another one that I probably ruined because I was a dick. But can you repeat your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so
Oh no, I got you.
the small steps leading to the initial.
So like I can't remember, and I think I called you actually, bro. I think we were on a FaceTime, and I was in the room
when you broke up with her.
No. When I was at East.
Oh, okay.
When I was at East. And she broke up with me. Don't get it twisted, bro. I got my ass left.
I remember that.
Shout out Big White. He in the living room. Him and Dwight came and got me. Shout out Big White. That's my boy.
I was on that Rob tour, like the ISA tour, and I was in the middle of like Arkansas, and you called me, and you're just like, bro, like,
you know how savage you have to be to leave your boyfriend in another state? Like, bro, that's cutthroat. I wish I was that. Nah.
At least she let you at Coachella.
And shout out Big White because he came to get me, so everything was cool. But so I remember I was at East, and it was during the summer, and I was spending so much time in my room, and like I had been depressed. Like I had been depressed before, and like I got seasonal depression, and I like worked through it on my own. And I remember I was like, damn, this is tough. Like this is really tough right now. And I was like, fuck, dude, like I gotta figure something out. Like I can't be feeling like this. And I went home and I like kind of flirted with the idea of going to therapy for a little bit. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it, dude. Like, fuck, I'm not that messed up.
Can you tell me about a situation in your head that you would like when you're introducing the thought where something would go wrong? So like what was like I'm sure you were like, all right, like I want to think about therapy, and then you would have some thought, and you'd be like, no. What would be that thought?
I would be like, I think I still just like didn't want to admit to myself that it was that bad. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, that's for people that are like messed up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's for drug addicts. That's for people that are so bipolar they can't get out of their bed. And I think I remember one time like I had a panic attack. And I never really had like understood the word panic attack before. I was like, yeah, you got anxiety. Like get the fuck over it, Buster. Like everyone's got anxiety. But when anxiety overwhelms you, paralyzes you. Like when you have a panic attack and like you can't control your breathing, like you wake up to like and like you're going nuts, bro. Like and you like your mind is bing 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 every like single way. Like I was having thoughts about like my father being dead for no reason, and like my best friend dying. Like I just like was like, oh, my family's dead. Like really weird, like anxiety ridden things that I couldn't control. Like I couldn't control my thoughts. And that's when I was like, yo, maybe I'm not in control of this. Like maybe I need some help. And I just like kept pushing that thought down. Like I was like, cause that's what I knew. You know what I'm saying? Like the same way I pushed those thoughts down for forever. I was like, boom, like step over it, go ride your scooter. Boom, step over it, go to work. Boom, you worked 50 hours of overtime on this paycheck and you made an extra $1,000. Like boom, don't think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like build any little momentum you could.
Boom.
And I think I went to Woodward again the next summer. Yeah, 2019. So this is 2019 now. And
because I remember before you went to Woodward, you'd be so hot and cold about Woodward. It was like when you were there, you were like, all I want to do is come back to Arizona. And then when you're in Arizona, all I want to do is go to Woodward.
Because I was just like, I just wanted to have a reason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'd bounce back and forth and be like, oh, that's why I'm not happy. And I can remember the last time I came back, I was like, because that was my thought. I was like, I just need to get back to Arizona. I'm gonna be happy again. You know what I'm saying? Like I just need to get out of here and I'm gonna be good. You know, I'm just worn out. You know, I've been working with 1 day off for 12 weeks with 800 kids, whatever. Like, I just got to get home. And I remember getting home, and I wasn't super financially sound at that point either. I think I was 23 and like wasn't super financially sound, was making a lot of bad decisions with my money. And I got home, and I don't think I could afford a place on my own. I think that was like the slap in the head, is like I didn't have like a deposit. I needed to buy a car, and I needed to put a deposit in, and I couldn't figure them both out. And I like had to move in with my mom, and I was like, yo, I'm a fucking loser. Like, and I just felt so bad about myself. And honestly, like the moment, and this is going to sound like kind of extreme, but I remember like having the thought, like being at my mom's house, and she like backed up to a golf course. Like, she lived on a golf course. And I remember having the thought, like, okay, I get paid tomorrow, and like, if I buy a gun and kill myself on the golf course, like my mom's not going to have to find me. And like, that was a very real thought. Like the only thing for like a week and a half, like I had this plan, and I was like, the only thing that got me, was like, I remember that my uncle had killed himself, and my grandma found him. My grandma his mother was the one who found him in his bathroom. And I just didn't want that to be me. Like, I didn't want my mom to have to be the one to find my body. And there was one day where I was like, all right, like I should go. And I like thought about it, and I was like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? I was like, you are 23 years old. Like, what is wrong, dude? Like, what is going on? Like, you need to get this figured out, because like this can't, like, there's no way this can be it. Like, there's no way that at 23, like, this can be it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I think I had, like, and I've always, you know what I'm saying? I've always been cocky. Like, I've always been cocky. So I think that's like a little bit of like the cockiness in me. It was like, bro, you ain't going out like this. Like, nah, son. Like, there's no way. Like, you probably ain't even seen the hottest girl you've seen in your life yet. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you got a lot more to do, homeboy. And I remember, like, actually, I was still working at Zinburger. I was still working for Fox Restaurants, and I had gone back to Zinburger at that point. And I remember, like, one day, it was that, like, around this same time when I'm just talking about, like, having those thoughts and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember I went in one day, and I was in there, and I was just crying. Like, I was like, it's like fucking 7:30 in the morning. Like, I imagine, like, looking back, I can only imagine my boss. Like, this is probably, like, the fucking weirdest. Like, he walks in, and this fool is just, like, putting tomatoes through a fucking tomato cutter, just, like, like crying. Like, I'm sure he walked in and was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I don't get paid enough for this. And I was like, you know, like, I was an emotional fucking wreck. And I can remember being like, nah. And I walked outside and like called and did my health intake form, like right outside the door of Zinburger, and like went through all these things on the phone with the office that I saw, that I ended up seeing at least. And I can remember like it was such a difficult phone call. Like admitting, like they were like, do you suffer from this, from this, from this, from this, from this, from, you know, just like really getting that intake form. And to have to like be like, yes, I suffer, like I'm having insane chronic depression. I'm having such bad anxiety that I'm having like hyperventilating stints. Like, and admitting and saying those things out loud was like so hard. And I remember like hanging up, and they were like, oh, she's like, okay, like, and I was like, yo, I need to get in here. Like and the last thing she asked me was like, have you had any suicidal thoughts? And I was like, yes. And she was like, I think at that point they're supposed to like refer you to something. I'm not sure what the protocol is. Whatever. But she's like, we can see you tomorrow. And I remember just like having this weight like lifted, like feeling like this weight was lifted, and I hadn't even gone. Like just knowing that I had someone to talk to. And I felt like it was going to be really good for some reason. Like I had this feeling that I was like, I think this like, and I don't know, I couldn't tell you her age. She's close to me in age. But it was like, it had always been really hard for me to connect with somebody who is so much older than me. Like I saw a lot of therapists that were like 50s or older, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like super hard for me to connect. And it was also like super hard for me to connect with like a male therapist for whatever reason. So like it felt really good to get in there. And I remember like thinking like, this is right. Like this is going to be okay. But like that was the sign for me, I think, was like having that thought that like the only thing that was stopping me from not wanting to be here anymore was the fact that I didn't want my mom to be the one to find like my body.
Yeah.
And that was the sign that was like, do something. And I know like this sounds insensitive too, and I think it's like cliche to say it. But like no one's coming for you, dude. Like no one's sending a boat to save your sinking ass. No one's coming and tapping you on the shoulder and being like, hey, maybe it's a good time to go to therapy. Like you just got to do it. Like you're the only one. You're the only one that's cocking that and pulling that trigger. You were the only person who is gonna make that happen. Because I had been suggested it a million times, and like I went with the suggestion of my older sister or my parents or whoever it was that suggested when I was 16, 17 or whatever, and like I just didn't take it seriously. It's a decision that you have to make, and like you have to decide that your emotions are worth it, and you have to decide that like you're worth it. And like it just like it's hard to get into it and like think about that in like a first person perspective. But like think about like if someone's not doing well, the first thing you're gonna tell them is to talk about it, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
yo, get some help, man. Like it's and so people like it's just mind blowing to me. Like I had that thought that like I was weak if I wanted to go to therapy. Cause like the first thing you ever tell anybody is like, yo, dude, it's okay. Like get some help. You know what I'm talking about? And it's
Because I always see that on Instagram too, like those things that people repost, like just talk about it, man. Just like talk about it. But it's just like
it's just repetitive till you get it, till you like really grasp and get
Yeah.
that. It's absent words. But like that's all you can do. That's like you gain so much power and perspective when you're the one who talks about it. There's like, and that's another thing too is like I was like I don't have anything to lose. Like, what do I have to lose? Like, feeling worse? Fat fucking chance. You know what I'm talking about? Like, there was no way in hell that going to somewhere and talking about it was gonna make me feel worse than I had already felt. You know what I'm saying? Like,
then it's just a pride thing at that point.
yeah, and like now I look back to and like I've said a million times in here, it's not linear. Like, mental health is not this graph that you're like sick. It's fucking boom, 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 up and down, all over the place. And another thing is like that I even talked about, I mentioned like I was talking to my homegirl last night and I was like, it's even crazy that you can like recognize that you're feeling low right now because like how long ago was it that this is just how you were feeling all the time? Like think about how much better you're doing now that you can even recognize that this feels like it sucks. You know what I mean? Because this was just every day. A couple like 9 months ago, whatever it was, like this was just your feeling every day. And it gives me a lot of perspective too on that now. Like when I have bad days, like bad days aren't as bad as they used to be, like no matter what. And I just lost another homie. Probably, what is it, November now? 2 months ago. About 2 months ago, I lost my boy Anthony. And I don't want to talk about his situation. I won't bring any of that up of what happened. But it was it sounds so fucked up to say this, but it was easier. Like having the skills and the knowledge of knowing what I had to do to make that situation easier for myself was so much easier. Like when I lost people in the past, it was like the end of the world. You know what I'm saying? I had nothing. It felt like I had nothing tangible left of them. Like it was just so hard. And like I just get to look back now and like remember or choose to remember all those amazing things about that dude. And like the way he picked me up every morning before work and drove me an hour and a half to work with him, never charged me gas money. Things like that. Like I get to look back and just like hold those memories and like love that dude for the rest of my life. And it was impossible for me to look at things like that before I had gone through gone through therapy. And I know that sounds it sounds a little bit worse than I meant it. But like it was easier, and I know that sounds crazy because you're like, "What? You lost your homie?" And like, yes, I lost.
It's
him.
not easy.
It's not.
Just.
It was just
it's just
easier.
more. It's just manageable.
And like it feels like stress. I can manage my stress a lot more. I never would have been able to go to school like and manage something and like learn these new things while I'm still doing a full-time job. Before it, not a chance, because I was like I had to like push everything away and like stimulate myself. Like you were saying how like pleasure and happiness are different. Like I was just doing things to stimulate myself over and over and over and over and over that probably weren't like super good things. And like how I said like thank the Lord I never had like a crazy substance abuse problem or anything, but like there were a lot of nights that I wasted like getting drunk. You know what I'm saying? Like I can even doing it to fit in, like to feel like I fit in with girls and fit in with people around me and stuff like that. There was a lot of nights that I spent like not even like drinking that much. Like it's not. I mean, I'm 26 now. Like it's never been a huge thing in my life. Like I'll have a beer every once in a while, stuff like that. But like it's never been a super huge thing. And there was like probably a section of my life where I was doing it super, 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 super hard to fit in and
Drinking.
Yeah. And I think we were hanging out back then a little bit, like for no reason. Back when I was dating like she who must not be named. Yeah. We're not gonna give her no clout, but you know what I'm saying? Like I was doing that a lot to like fit in with that crowd of the people.
Back when that was Zinberger times.
Yeah,
that was like when you would go to Champs.
Yeah, Champs every night, and I mean, dude. And I look back now, and I just think about like really how much money I spent and how much time I wasted at those places with those people.
That's crazy,
bro. Like it pains me to spend $50 now, bro. We were spending like $350 to $750 a night on bar tabs, like for no fucking reason. I get like drunk and be like, I'm buying everybody's next round and just like scream in the bar, bro. Like, I don't know. I was doing a lot of dumbass shit to fit in with some people that I just didn't care about because I wasn't comfortable with myself. I needed a group, you know what I'm saying? And I found this group that I thought was cool and like.
And it's such a toxic group to have a drinking group, like just thinking of like. I don't think society talks about it enough, but alcohol's
fucking lame.
Alcohol is horrible
it's
relative
so
to other things. Alcohol is so toxic.
It's very socially acceptable. I think it's very, very easy to overindulge in alcohol. And I think that's something that like in action sports too, a lot of people I think, well, not even just in action sports. In fucking life, people think it's like they think, no, it is socially acceptable to do these things, but it's not good for you, like at all. Like people don't realize how bad drinking really is for you. And like I pitched a dead end because I used to put that shit all over my fucking Snap stories, like all that shit. It's so lame. Like you're such a tool, dude. I don't know, man.
And it's literally poison.
It's not, and it really too affects like your mindset on how you fucking like.
I feel like it makes the extremes more extreme in your emotions.
Yeah, and like even the
it
next
like
day.
exaggerates your emotions to like. I feel like maybe when you're sober and you're not when you're not abusing the substance,
yes.
you
can drink responsibly.
Absolutely.
You can drink responsibly.
But I feel like it's more of a gradual like waves that you go through. It's not spikes.
Yeah.
It's waves versus spikes. And I think when you spike your life by spiking your drinks, you get the spikes in your emotions.
And I agree with you. Remember I was talking earlier about what was I saying? Like I can't remember. Fuck it. Fuck I even brought anything up. Like giving yourself a fighting chance. Like bro, like think about how hard it is. Like when you really have a hangover, like how bad you feel in the morning, like you're not setting yourself up for a successful day. And if you're doing that a lot, like bro, like it makes sense why you're so pissed off. Like, you had to sleep till 3 p.m. to even feel like you could get out of your bed. Like,
and then you train your body to have the only time that your dopamine gets released is when you're intoxicated. So then you start relying on that on a physical level and you get physically addicted. So that way it's, in order to feel something, you have to have a substance attached to it. And to break out of that cycle, you're going to have to go through a little gray area. And people don't have the self-confidence or the willingness to go through that gray area because they just want to see the colors of their emotions. And the only way to see the color of their emotions is by indulging in with poison. And I feel like this just it's a classic cliche route that I'm sure everyone listening to can name someone in their life that is going through it, which is so awful.
Yeah, for sure. And it's back to, like, it's just socially acceptable. You know what I'm saying? Like, how you're talking about everyone in their life can name somebody. It's true. And it's just like, bro, like, alcohol sucks. I'm gonna be, and like, you can do it right. I'm not telling nobody to never have a drink of alcohol. I'm not being a hypocrite by any means. But like, I was realizing to a point that, like, those people that I was with, like, I had nothing else in common with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was almost like I had fallen into this, like, high school facade.
Well, it's really easy to be friends with people when you get into the same pattern of spiking emotions with them.
And even more than that, like, I thought that these people cared about me because we were out all the time with each other and we saw each other 5 days a week because we worked together and stuff like that.
But it's like you're just associated with these people.
Literally, like, you know, and so, like, and that was a big thing, is like realizing, because I thought about it one time, because one of them was like, yeah, we family. And I was like, I wouldn't call any of you motherfuckers if I needed help at 2 a.m. Like, not a chance, bro. Like, I don't trust any of you to be there. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's like that meme that, like,
yeah, literally, bro. Like, I don't know, dude. It's just crazy to me, bro. It's really wild to me. The lifestyle, and like, we are what, 20 to 30. What are you? You're 25?
Mm-hmm.
God, okay, good. I was hoping that you weren't about to make me feel old. I'm 26. So,
bro, we've always been a year apart.
And that's what I was trying to remember, bro, because I'm usually the little one. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah. I forget sometimes. But like, and I think it's like really culturally acceptable for people our age, and I think even more so.
I think the pandemic.
Oh, the pandemic was rough. The alcohol sales skyrocketed.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
They skyrocketed.
I feel like a lot of alcoholics got made during the pandemic.
And because it was lonely. Shit was tough.
Well, it was lonely for a lot of people that I feel like don't speak up because they're alone. And I feel like beyond from that, it's people that aren't necessarily lonely, but have those mental routes that you're talking about that are toxic.
Yes.
Those people needed to get an escape somehow.
And a lot of people too, like I was talking about how scootering and action sports helps because, like, physical activity literally helps your brain flow, it helps your blood flow, it helps maintain levels around your entire body. Like, a lot of people got that taken from them. You know, we couldn't go to gyms, we couldn't go, it was even hard to even get to some skate parks some places. California was throwing sand in them motherfuckers and shit. Yeah. So, like, it was tough, bro. That was a really tough time. And I think, like, even more so, we're seeing the effects of what went on during that, of that isolation. And it was like, that was another really, 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 really hard time for me when that came. And I lost that human interaction because I thrive off of human interaction.
Extrovert.
Oh, 100%. And, like, you know that I can talk to anybody in the room any time of the day, anywhere. Like, I'm not afraid. You know what I'm talking
energy.
About? Yeah, and I, like, no matter who you are, I treat the CEO with the same respect you treat the janitor. You know what I mean? I'll talk to anybody, and I don't mean I'll talk to anybody any sort of way, but, like, I'll talk to anybody any sort of way. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're all humans. You know what I mean?
You're talking to me sort of way, Ernie.
I swear to God, Will. But no, like, I'll talk to people all like you're a human. So it's easy for me to relate with a lot of people. I feel like really relatable too. I'm very And then that's like I talked earlier about like being able to admit that I'm wrong. I think that ties in. I know that a lot of people say these days it doesn't feel like people, like when you conversate with somebody, that they listen ever. You know what I'm saying? And I think that has a lot to do with like not ever wanting to admit that you're wrong. Like you're just trying to push your view rather than understanding someone else's. And like when I'm very easy to admit that I'm wrong. I'll tell you I'm wrong. Like I'll be the first to tell you. Like I really don't know what I'm talking about. And that's why I can talk to people so many different people in so many different areas, because I know you can learn something from anybody at any given time. Like I've been taught shit by 12-year-olds, you know what I'm talking about? Then I'm like, really? And I'm like, the kid kind of, and then I pull my phone out and Google check him and he's right. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Like for sure. And also, like, I like to think like I'm a nice person, so I think I'm I wouldn't say nice, approachable. I feel like I'm an approachable person for sure. So that helps in the sense of like being able to talk to people. But I'm just like, I'm not afraid anymore. Like at the end of the day, like I know what I bring to the table. I know 98.9% of the time my intentions are pure. I can be a dick sometimes for sure, just for the shits and giggles. But like really, like, just be approachable, yo. Like it's crazy when you let down that guard, how many things you find. And like also like when I didn't like have a very good self-image of myself. I didn't like to talk to a lot of people because I didn't want to have to like ever talk about myself. And it's crazy now like how many doors have been kicked down for me and how many amazingly cool things I've got to do simply by just introducing myself to people. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like when you're like, that's another thing too, is like I feel like now 20 versus 26-year-old Ernie, when I walked into a room at 20 years old and there was 10 new people, I got on my phone. 26-year-old Ernie, I walk out of there, have shaken everyone's hand, and I have 3 of those people's numbers in my phone with contacts. Like yeah, it's just things like that. Like you're ever learning that like any person in the world can ever change something for you, and you can learn something from every single person. So just be open to things. Say hello to people. Be polite. Like, be a good person. I don't know. That was kind of off topic, but whatever.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
No, I think you've brought a lot of good insight. You know what I mean? I feel like you, from the person that I met you initially to now, I feel like you're such a bigger person.
Oh, mountains different.
And
mountains different.
I'm happy that. Well, I'm not happy that you had to go to all those places, but I'm happy that you're at this place now. And if that's what it took to get through it, then
yeah,
I'm stoked that you went through all those things.
See, and that's like another thing too, is like I wouldn't change, like how I said before, I wouldn't change anything. Like I wouldn't change a damn thing in my life ever. Life has been tough. There's been a lot of really trying moments for me. And there's a lot of things that I never thought I was gonna get past or get through, and like I'm still here today. And like it's a testament to anybody. Like, and I'm not saying like, and I know too, 1 million people have had it worse than me. Like my story is not the worst one you'll ever hear. But it is. I think it's something that like it's more common than anyone wants to admit. And if I could say anything to like, there's anyone out there that has dealt with sexual abuse that doesn't want to talk about it, there's a whole nother life that you don't even know about. And you are so worth the validation that you deserve, and you're not defined by the things that happen to you, and nothing that did happen was ever your fault. And a lot of people take blame on themselves, and a lot of people equate that situation to something they have done wrong. And there's nothing wrong in the world you can do to deserve something like that. You know what I'm saying? So there's no fault of your own that those things happened, and you're so worthy of speaking about them. You're so worthy of your story being told. You're so worthy of being heard. And you deserve those things, and everybody in life deserves those things. Everybody in life deserves common respect. Everybody in life deserves compassion. Everybody in life deserves to be understood and or deserves to be heard as well. And I don't think that there's anybody in the world that isn't of those things. regardless of who you are, regardless of what you've been through, anything. You have a story and it deserves to be told no matter who you are. So I think that if you are struggling with anything like that, just please talk about it, get help. And I know it's so cliche. You've heard that a million fucking times. Get help, talk about it. But when you put the power in your own hands and you take control of your life and you take control of your emotions and you take control of those situations and you decide the power is within you on those things, it's amazing how your life can change. And I'm just like really thankful that I found that, because like there were times at 22 where I was like, I'll never be happy again. Like I felt like I would never ever be happy again. And I felt like this was everything for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm just gonna be sad. I'm gonna feel like this. I'm gonna be frustrated. I'm gonna feel like I never got justice for forever. And like, it's crazy how like literally just talking about it, changing your perspective, being validated, and like hearing things from a perspective that isn't just a voice inside your head can change your whole outlook on life. So
the only thing you'll ever own in life is your perspective. And so you might as well make it good.
And there's, you know what I'm saying? And like, I agree with that. I agree with that so hard. And like, also there is no reality, only perception. So life is what you make it, you know what I'm saying? And it took a really long and hard try to figure that out in my life, but I'm so glad that I did. Because now I see things as I get to do them instead of I have to do them. And I find reasons and meaning behind just about everything, because everything in life has a purpose, everything in life has a meaning, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing when you fucking own that. And you get to decide those things. So anyone out there struggling that doesn't want to speak about it, I understand. You don't have to talk to, you know what I'm saying? It's so much easier to talk to a third-party person who doesn't have real stake invested in your life and isn't going to treat you differently because
they don't have anything to gain or lose.
And they're going to give it to you real every time. And so you know you can trust that. And another thing, too, that I talk to a lot of people about that say, like, oh, why would I pay someone to listen and act like they care? You know what I'm saying? Because like you pay your therapist, it's a real thing. You usually pay some pretty good money. And I remember I brought that up one time, and a very, very good point she said to me. She said, you know, I could refuse to see you, right? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I don't have to see you. Like if I really like thought like your problems were meaningless, and I thought that like you were like on some bullshit, or I didn't agree with it, like I don't have to see you. Like I can tell you I don't have to be your therapist. And she was like, I'm here because I care. And I'm like, that was such an eye opener. Like, damn, like you're like, that's true. Like if you really thought I was a fucking idiot, like, and you didn't want to fuck with this, you could just be like, no, I'm good. Like I'm super good on that. So I don't know. It's just like, it was eye opening to realize that like people do care.
I feel like
regardless.
in their perfect world, if they could do therapy and just have all of the amenities in their life just be taken care of, I feel like they probably would. You know what I mean? It's just like, let's just be real about this world for a second. They have to make a buck somehow. Exactly.
And like that's like, and myself too. Like I want to be a therapist because I care. And that's in the like,
you're not going in to make money.
Yeah, they make some good money. Don't get me wrong. You make six figures or whatever. You can make some good money if you're really good at it and you're a good business person. But like, dude, if they were in it to make money, they'd go fucking trade stocks or like
do
something way more lucrative than listening to people bitch for 40 hours a week. You know what I'm talking? Like no one does that because they want it for money. So that was an eye opener to me too. Is like they really do care. They're people that usually have gone through things themselves. And like
that can identify those patterns.
Exactly. But yeah, man, like that's my story, I guess. It's really crazy. And like another thing too is like I never thought I'd be here talking on this level about it. You know what I'm talking about? I never thought I'd ever be comfortable enough to like say this to such a broad perspective of people, and like share my story like that. And it's just like, it's crazy to feel like I feel like I got a Gucci jacket on right now. Like, motherfucker, like that was tight. I feel good about myself. It feels good to share my story and hope
you have a good perspective.
And hope that it helps. You know what I mean?
That's the whole reason you even get a Gucci jacket, is to change your perspective. So I guess this is my Gucci jacket. I'm feeling good. But yeah, thank you, bro, for real. Well, Ernie, we love having you on the show. Like, talking with you, I feel like is always such a treat. You always bring a great energy, and I know all the kids at Woodward that know who you are from being their camp counselor and putting on a great summer are stoked to have you as a leader in their life.
Program director.
I'm
not a camp counselor.
I know,
I'm
but
just kidding. I'm sorry.
You work at a summer camp.
I had to flex. Okay.
But seriously, like, thank you so much for sharing your story, for caring enough about the people out there, but specifically the scooter riders, to share your story. And I'm sure there's people out there listening that have their own stories and can relate with the patterns in your life. And I feel like it was just very brave of you, and that makes me stoked as a friend that you're at this place.
Hey, good looks, man. That meant a lot, for real. It's been a long time. Like, it's been a lot of work to get to here, so it feels good to be here. And I really hope that if there's anyone out there that was thinking like, man, you know, maybe it would be better if I went and saw somebody, I hope you take this as your sign, and I hope you see me. Like, if any, I wonder too if people like notice that have known me in the past, you know what I'm talking about, and they see me now, they're like, huh, like, what happened to him? He's not a fucking asshole anymore. Like, maybe he likes life now. Like, I wonder what happened. I wonder if that's a thought, because I feel like I get, you know, like, I feel a lot different. So, but if there's anyone out there, like, if you have even thought about it, you know what I'm talking about, if you've even thought about, like, maybe that would help, it would. Just pull the trigger. No one's coming to save you. No one's coming to shove your back to go do it. You have to be the one, and I hope you do. And I hope anybody out there who's struggling with something that they don't talk about, that they don't want to talk about, that one day you find the strength to talk about it, and you find the strength to heal from those things. Because I know how beneficial it can be. But I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course.
You guys have really built a platform here. I'm super proud of you guys on that, man. It's tight. So, thank you, Will.
Hey, thank you, Ernie. I love you, man.
Oh, my God. Your arms are so long. This fool got Scottie Pippen arms.
Hey, but I got that Jordan mindset.
2-3, baby. 2-3.
All right, but anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out.
You.